we're going to be hopefully doing what's called HiFlex, meaning we are going to do something that can be done both in person and online. And if somebody happens to not be able to make either of these synchronous modes, also asynchronous. And so hopefully this will all work. We've got our timing a little bit better than last week. So I sent out an email, or I sent out an announcement in Blackboard, which pushes out to your email, UALR email. And I explained that, I had a little bit of a challenge this weekend. I had no internet. Finally, on Sunday night, I went and used my sister-in-law's, then yesterday's, her power went out. So all this rain is really creating problems. There were some glitches in the Blackboard assignments and the things that said, and on the syllabus, and people contacted me about that. I think I've corrected them now, but it took me a while because I didn't have really internet. We'll see how it goes. So let me start by taking attendance. And I know some people are in different places. So here's my list, just as in this order. Abby Huizingen, are you here? No. Logan Tomchik, are you here? No. Today, I can't believe it's September 1st. Lauren Acevedo. Ariana Alba.
I'm on Zoom.
Yeah, I see you. La Destiny. Reagan. You said she was going to be on Zoom. Not yet. Ryuna, no. Paul Larson. Chloe Lee, no. Taryn. Talia. I saw you. Yes, there you are. Hi. Joe, he said he would be. Veronica, I saw you.
Here.
Elisa, I saw you. Liz, I saw you somewhere. Yes, you can unmute. Liz, are you there?
Yes.
Oh, okay. Deasia, yes. Are you there?
Yes, ma'am.
Hi. Dana? Hi.
I'm here.
Whitney? Saw you. Hi.
Hi.
And Brenda?
I'm here.
Earlier. Oh, there you are, the big B. Okay. So hopefully some of these other people will be coming soon. I wanted to start by talking about some of the rules in the syllabus. So I did put up here under development because things are so fluid in this particular time. and things will change. I wanted to make sure everybody saw the contact information. As long as ULR is open, I will be here on Tuesdays and Thursdays. And I can meet with people in person or virtually. And my office is in the building right there on the other side facing the library. And I put my cell phone in there, which I encourage you to use if you need it. The best way to contact me is by the ULR email, which I can get on my phone even if I don't have internet. So there's only one book on this class and for this class, and it is this handbook. This is a book that it's not a textbook, it's a reference book. If you don't have a handbook already from some other writing class, I strongly encourage that you get this. Frankly, most of the information in it you can get online, and so therefore you might be more inclined to do without it. But it is a really handy thing. You'll notice it's very small. It's as cheap as you can get, and it's handy for looking up citation. So those of you who are particularly in social work and nursing, those disciplines make a big deal about citing with APA. So all the rules for APA, and which we will in fact cover in this class, are in here, and it's handy to have it while you're looking there. Pay attention to the outcomes. Then I'm going to assume you can read all these specifics, but I want to make sure that you know that I do allow late assignments. Some teachers do not. I always allow late assignments. I may take off points, but it's better late than never. Same thing. And also don't not show up because you don't have some assignment. It's better to show up than not to show up. And so we will work around the situation, and we'll be even more flexible. This red part, the asynchronous option, this is what makes this semester different from all other semesters. We're assuming that things will happen to people's lives already. One student had to sit with his mother while his father is in the emergency room, and because they're sick. And so the mother can't go into the hospital, which is a problem. So everything is going to be recorded, and if you can't make it synchronously, then you can watch asynchronously, and I will have an alternate assignment or activity for you depending on the day. You are allowed to do that 4 times. It's like having 4 absences in a regular semester. A picky thing that I have is I want you to name files by this format, last name first. Files meaning, like if you have a paper that's due, I want the paper to be called, or me, Matson, syllabus 2 or whatever. This is because I will take everybody's assignments and I will download it onto my own folder. And if I can organize it alphabetically by last name, I can keep track of it. Part of the thing is for you to name the version. I don't know how many times students have submitted me the wrong version of something. So I want you to develop a system for naming things. I will skip over all these things and mention they are asking everybody who comes to campus to do this screening tool every day. Honestly, I think they're kind of not really expecting anybody to comply because they're not really seeming to be emphasizing it, but I put it there. Try to remember to link into it. It's just a little Qualtrics survey that you can fill out. And we're more aware of student needs for support. So there's something called the University Care Team, and they have been working overtime to provide additional services, including technology, laptops, and money. It's not UALR money, it's federal government, the CARES Act money, half of which, half of the amount that was given to each university is supposed to go directly to students. So if you need help, please take advantage. We will continue with Trojan Food Pantry, and also the technology needs are through the care team as well. Okay, any questions about the syllabus? I want those meeting controls on this page, not. Stop share. Oh, that's what I wanted. Anybody with questions about the syllabus or about how the semester is set up? So I'm not in the screen. When I looked at the video from last week, I saw that most of the time the camera was on this maximum room occupancy sign over here, which got you in. Yeah, which got you in it. And I'm always sideways because I want to be able to have the board. I guess I haven't quite figured that part out yet today. So today we're going to be using computers for an activity. So if you have a laptop or the desktop, either one is fine. You should log into. And so questions on the assignments? So all right. I use this off-site site from Weebly for my course material, just because there was a year where Blackboard was really unstable, and I just decided I would move everything off of Blackboard. Blackboard is a lot better now, and so actually my new courses this semester I'm putting back on Blackboard, but the content for this course is on this Weebly page. And I will try to update it as I go. There's a lot of material in here because I have usually taught this course online. And so it's the content that we make up. But so this is supposed to be the version for on campus, but if we end up going totally online, we'll be ready. So the course takes place in these three different locations. Every page in Weebly will have an overview statement about what we're working on, and then some reading assignments, and then some to-doing assignments. So this was from last week. I had to go through and change things for this week because we lost last week, or last Thursday. But so this is where we're going to start today. I asked you to get a list of all the workplace writing that you experienced between classes. So you ended up having a lot longer time than I expected. So you should have a longer list. I'm not asking you to turn them in. We're going to be working on a document on in Google Drive or on a Google Doc that we'll put in Google Drive where we list them. Now, the basis of this activity is to try to get us to think about the rhetoric of workplace writing. You've all noticed, probably, that this department is called Rhetoric and Writing, and our courses are called rhetoric courses. I don't know how many of you have thought what rhetoric meant and kind of thought about why we've called ourselves rhetoric. Rhetoric is a term in everyday usage that is really negative. You know, it's always, you know, look at that politician, don't trust him. You know, it's just rhetoric that he's provided. And in fact, I read a newspaper article just this morning that used the term rhetoric in describing something that was going on at the Republican National Convention last week, and trying to make, it was saying that they were trying to give a symbolic representation of unity with a rhetoric of divisiveness. So they were trying to give an image of one thing, but the rhetoric was of another thing. And in fact, rhetoric, when it's used negatively, is almost always juxtaposed against something. Like there's rhetoric, and then there's what really happened, and there's rhetoric, and then there's truth, or there's rhetoric and there's substance. In any case, when we talk about rhetoric, we often talk about the rhetorical triangle. And the rhetorical triangle basically kind of puts in a symbolic form the elements of any rhetorical act. So rhetoric in a neutral way, as opposed to this pejorative way, is basically communicating to do something with words, or communicating with words, let's say, to do something. And actually, modern days, it's not always just words. It's often symbols or images or memes or, you know, video things. And there's this triangle involving the writer, the audience, and the subject matter. And then what I did in my little diagram is around the outside, I put this context. That is, every time you communicate something, you are in a context, or another term for context might be situation. You are in a situation maybe that calls for this type of communication. And hopefully by, you know, collecting all these pieces of workplace writing, you noticed all these different contexts and situations that make the writing different. And so we're going to talk about some of those. One other important term is purpose. So when you have writers and audiences and somebody is writing something, they're doing it for a purpose. What are some of the purposes people have for writing?
Informative.
Pardon?
Giving information, being informative.
Being informative, yeah.
To persuade, maybe?
To persuade.
Documenting things.
Documenting things or reporting things. Documenting and reporting are slightly different, aren't they? Others? So in my announcement, I said we would work on this document. So what I want everybody to, well, before we, oh, and I see a lot of you are actually on it. So how many people here, we can use the, no, we won't do it that way. So I see a lot of people have already logged in. And what I would like us to do is for everybody to log into this document, which you need to do by going to the either Blackboard or the email announcement that you got. And going to the thing that says Google Doc. And you guys too. So are you guys in there? So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I'm going to add one other category I thought about as I was driving in. So this is what we're going to do. We are going to all work on this same document, which is one of the great things about, I'm sure that's too close. How do I get to see this? Maybe what I want to do, whatever. This is one of the great things about Google Docs. It allows you to work on the same project together. It's great for group project management. I was on a committee this summer where we put together, I don't know, about 10 different documents, and they were all Google Docs, and we would just get in there and start writing and cross other people out and write and rewrite and edit and do all sorts of things. So, and then at some point you can decide to finalize it. One of the things about Google Docs is you don't ever have to worry about saving. It saves automatically. However, you can also track the background. So there's, if you pull down File, you can see version history, and you can see version history. And you can see that I created this document at 12:11 a.m. last night. And then I did some editing at 12:17. And then I opened it again just now at 2:03. And so you can see my very first version, which was no page at all. And then my second is when I typed all this stuff that's in green. And then this is what and then this green thing shows me what I added just now. And some of you have been, wandering around it. I'm going to go back to the original and see how anybody who's currently kind of looking at it and has their cursor sort of on it, their name shows up. So Ryuna, oh, I didn't know. So this is going to be a way that I can record people's attendance and participation, by the way. Whitney's there. Alicia's there. Okay, so, and up here, all the people who are currently working on this document, and there are A, D, B, D, E, F, and if you create a profile in Google, instead of your letter, a picture will show up. So you see that there's my Google account with my picture up there. So this is what we're going to do. We're going to just add documents to these lists. All of your documents, we're just going to add to these lists. You may, in fact, add them multiple times. So I got this long letter from an attorney the other day. Actually, from the attorney's assistant the other day. Unfortunately, my mother passed away in May in the midst of this horrible life. And so we have to deal with her estate. And it is unbelievable to me how many forms and papers and stuff there are involved with dealing with my mother's estate, even though most of it is not having to go through probate. Some of it just has to go through, I don't know. They had so many little things and accounts. It's just a pain. So I got this letter. It was basically a 2-page letter. I wish I thought to bring the copy. And it was about 7 different little accounts that we're trying to deal with. And on each one, there was a set of instructions of what I had to do, fill out a form, sign this, blah, blah, blah. So I was thinking, that's a great example of what we can talk about. So here's my letter. I'm going to add it to this list. And so I've made some beginning headings, and we'll just use bullet points underneath the headings. Oh, this is not university. So I need to create another heading. What context do you think I should describe this as?
Say legal or personal affairs?
Legal. Estate matters, something like that. So legal, and then probably estate would be a subset of that. So I'm just going to put, letter from attorney to Dr. Matson. Okay, that's how I'm going to add something. Now, what's the purpose of that document? I'm sorry, what?
Inform you of what you need to do.
Inform me of what I need to do. Okay. And then I will just copy this. And I want to make it go right. So what's the intended result by the audience? That is, what am I supposed to do with this letter?
Perform the necessary instructions to provide that you get your probate resolved correctly and legally.
Okay, so fill out forms, sign papers, paperwork, sort of. Because that's, basically what it is. And ultimately, get probate settled. What's the relationship between the, let me copy that there. What's the relationship between the writer of this letter and me?
Attorney-client.
Attorney-client, or attorney-client. At a larger level, you could say a business client, something like that. Oops. All right. So what have I done? I took one of my items and I thought about what was the context, what was the purpose, what was the intended result at the audience's end, and what is the relationship. All of these have to do with the rhetoric of something. You'd write differently if you have different relationships, right? You know, if I was the client writing to the attorney, I'd write differently than the attorney writing to the client. If the situation was, you know, a more of a family kind of thing of trying to negotiate stuff on the estate, it would certainly be different than writing to the, within a business context. So that's what I want you to do. I want you to take 3 or 4 of your items that you looked at, and we're going to all together be writing at the same time on this document. We're not going to worry too much about the formatting. I imagine the formatting will get kind of a little wonky, but so just start adding things here. So does anybody have any technology issues to deal with? Everybody's able to get on? Okay. Wonder if I have to admit anybody yet. Doesn't look like. Do I only see 5? Oh, back to my. You're Ryuna, right? So let me ask you to do one more thing. When you add yourself, and I see some people have been adding their initials, why don't we do it as a comment? So I'm going to add a comment to what I did. I highlighted letter from attorney to Dr. Mattson. And I'm going to write, and when you write a comment, you highlight it, then you click on the plus to the right, and then to save the comment and show up for everybody else, you click on the blue box. And now everybody will see my comment. So that way we'll know who's written everything. And you notice your name actually shows up. You don't even have to write your name. So does anybody have any questions? Like you're not sure how to categorize something?
Ms. Matson, I wasn't aware I was gonna need the laptop. On my phone, it's not letting me. I'm able to see everything and I'm able to open up the Google Docs, but I can't
Yeah.
see. I can't type.
Yeah. Yeah, it's pretty hard to do this kind of stuff on the phone.
I'll be able to do it afterwards.
Yeah, that'll be great. So this Google Doc still exists, will still exist after class. And so you can go in and do it there. Who was talking, by the way?
Ma'am,
Was that Deasia?
Talia.
Talia?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Not seeing enough pictures of everybody. Oh, because you're on the phone, that's why. I'm getting notifications on my phone for every single comment. Oh, goodness. Luckily, I put it on silent, but. Okay, so this is probably enough for you to kind of get the message. There are so many different types of writing that you'll see. And the rhetorical situation, that is that triangle that I showed you, really affects the choices that you make on them. It'll affect the length, it'll affect the style, the tone, formatting, even things like what font you might use, your relationship between the two, is going to, the relationship between the audience and the writer is going to totally affect how the writer decides to approach whatever thing it is. And some things they're not really hard to work out. Some things it's really a challenge to figure out how the best way to meet the purposes that you intend. And so this is a document that you can add to and keep working on. But I wanted to use it as a way to start thinking about the issues related to different kinds of rhetorical situations and how the writing is different because of them. And I also wanted to use it as a chance to work with Google Docs, because we'll be using Google Docs a lot in this class. And I can tell that many of you have used Google Docs before, because you're not really having any difficulties. Just want to make sure that everybody does know how to use it. So the next thing I want to do with respect to Google Docs is I want you to create a folder in your drive for things for this class. So there's a couple ways to get to Drive. One way is to click on this left document. Whoops, oh, wrong thing to do. One way is to click on File and go to New. No, that's not going to work either. I guess the best way will be to add shortcut to Drive. So click on File and click on Add Shortcut to Drive. And what will open is your drive. If you've never used your drive, it'll be empty. Well, it's not going to be empty. Click on My Drive. And if you've never used My Drive, whoops. You've never used it, it will have a zillion different folders in it.
I have nothing.
Yeah,
I have zero, nothing.
that means so you move on it. If you've never used it, maybe nothing there. You really should, if you've ever opened a document on ULR email, you really should have one. Make sure you're in My Drive through ULR. So just, as I said, add the shortcut. Then we're going to go into, this is the easy way to get to Drive. Go into your ULR email. I wanted to make sure. Is everybody in ULR email? Over here in the tic-tac-toe box, you can get to your drive. This is going to be your drive in ULR. And it is possible if you have a Gmail account somewhere else, that's where you end up. This is why you have to be working within ULR email, and you may have to And that add shortcut to drive, if you added the shortcut to drive, it should show up in your recent. And if it's your ULR one, it'll be fine. You can tell whose it is by looking, whether it's your ULR one or your personal one, by looking up at the top right. And it says here, here's Joanne Matson. And I use my Drive for everything, but I also have a personal Gmail account.
I don't think that they would have access because it does say whenever I accidentally logged into my dad's email, it did say that you have to be logged into an email that can have access.
Yes. So a lot of times what happens is, especially if you're trying to be on your phone, I don't remember what my password is. Especially if you're on your phone doesn't always know whether you should be on your private email or your ULR email.
Yeah, my phone just, I've tried the shortcut
Yeah.
into your.
So sometimes it has to.
Doesn't even, not produce.
So to make sure that you're actually in the ULR email or ULR drive, you go to the drive picture here. And one of the things you can do, now I've already got it because I've been working on it. One of the things you can do is move it to that spot. So where are we? Class groupings. Move, you click on file and then move, and you move it to, oh no, you have to share it. So you'd have to share it with your ULR email to get it into your ULR email. It should be in your ULR drive because if you access any of this by the Blackboard or the email. So what I'd like you to do in your My Drive is I'd like you to make a folder for this class. As you can see, I have 1,000 folders here. But what I'd like you to do is create a folder for this class, name it by your last name, the course, and whatever else you want to do there, create that folder. So I have 1,000 different emails or folders. And actually, one of the things I may show you if people need it, what I do is I use my drive as my backup. So my computer mirrors my drive, and everything I change on my computer changes in my drive, which then changes on any other computer that I look at. So I can access my drive through my phone as well as any other device, as long as I'm logged into jlmatson@ulr.edu. And in fact, on your phone, you can download a drive link somewhere. Well, can't find mine. There's my son. Oh, yes. So on my phone, I have a Drive app, and I open that, and it gets right into my Drive, and any document, anything, I always put in that. But for this class, what's important is that you create a folder on the UALR drive, my drive for ULR, and you start using that to store things for this class. You can definitely create subfolders in that drive, and that'll probably be what you'll want to do. So you might create a subfolder for handouts and a subfolder for papers that you're working on and a subfolder for whatever else you need. One of the most important things that you can learn in a writing class these days is learning how to create a project management system. Because if you're in any kind of organization as an employee or working in any kind of business, there's going to be lots and lots of projects and documents, and you have to come up with a way of storing it. Almost any business ends up doing something like that. Okay, so 140 to 255. Okay. All right. So we will take a look at this list at the beginning of class next time, and we'll start talking about that some more. Let me move now to my goal for this week. So this week we are working on trying to become good observers of documents, to notice what makes them effective and what doesn't. And I've developed this Spot the Differences activity to help us do that. So you will find this Spot the Differences activity on week 2 of the Rhetoric of Workplace Writing. And I wrote in there, if you had a chance before class to take a look at it, that was my intention was to assign it on Thursday, but since we didn't have Thursday class. All right, so for some reason I've been getting People Magazine. I guarantee I did not pay for People Magazine. But for some reason I've been getting People Magazine. And it turns out they have Spot the Differences pages at the back of every People Magazine. I didn't realize it was still a thing. So in my little instructions here, I talk about the Highlights magazines that I used to read as a kid. They tended to be in doctor's offices, and they always had Spot the Differences. And I guess some of the comics sometimes have it. So does anybody see any of the differences between these two pictures? I think there are 6.
The top one, the old man's wearing a tie, the bottom one is not.
Okay, yeah,
On
Taryn?
the top, you can see the cherry stem. On the bottom, you can't.
Okay,
On the top, there's a bird on the top right-hand corner. On the top one, he's got tail feathers. On the bottom picture, he has no tail feathers.
oh yeah.
And then the bottom one's shorter.
How about anybody online? You see any?
The feathers on the raven, and the cherry stem.
Mm-hmm.
There's the antenna.
He has a tie on in one picture and not in the other. The professor.
Right, I think. Are you guys able to hear when people talk?
Yes.
Okay.
The radio antenna on top has got a button, and in the bottom it doesn't, in the middle of it.
Oh, yeah.
I don't see that.
Well, it's like the antenna rays are higher up on the top. Yeah. Great. So same idea with this writing activities. I have found that a lot of people, you receive documents all the time, and you may not necessarily understand what they're saying, and you sometimes think it's your fault, not theirs. But a lot of times, the documents that you receive in business settings are not very well done. And so we're going to talk about, for these activities, ways of making documents better more effective rhetorically. So, Talia, you mentioned that you couldn't open up all these windows on your phone.
Yes, ma'am.
These activities, this is a class that has lots and lots of windows. So you can't do anything probably well, we'll see, but a lot of these classes are going to require a lot of windows. So it is going to be hard to do it by phone, although phone is better than never. So the original memo all right, where did it open?
Bottom right-hand corner.
Oh. All right. So here is the original memo, and actually I borrowed this from another teacher. It's a memo to residents might receive if you lived in an apartment building that had garages. Garages in your buildings are scheduled to be cleaned starting on Monday, continuing through Friday. The work will consist of pressure washing, blah, blah, blah. Anyone planning on leaving or arriving after 9 on Thursday must plan on parking in the outside parking lot, as the entrance and exit areas will be blocked off by equipment. Any items left in the stalls will be considered blah, blah, blah. What's wrong with this memo?
Zero formatting.
Zero formatting.
We should have put something in bold print.
Something in bold, why?
To let them know that it's urgent, I guess.
So you can't tell what's important,
Yeah, not only
and
that,
bold would tell what's important, yeah?
not only that, but because there's no real spacing and it's just a big paragraph, you tend to just get lost in the middle of it. So they need to like kind of concise the formatting down a little bit better, so that way you know what to look at.
So, you know, you probably were taught something about paragraphs way back in like 2nd or 3rd grade, but maybe they didn't really tell you what the purpose was of a paragraph. But here you can see a purpose of a paragraph is to help the reader process information. And so if you think about, you know, what is the information I want to make sure that the reader gets, that might help you with your paragraphing. Other things? There are certain things that you have to do in this. And part of the overall problem is that those are hidden. And that's one of the things I often see in workplace writing that's not really as clear as it could be, is that there's hidden instructions and you can't necessarily find it. So going back to my revision, or my original. So,
So much better.
thank you. Why is this better?
It's easier to read.
What makes it easier to read?
It's aesthetically pleasing.
Just divide it up.
It's
It's
organized.
divided up in sections. Chunking is a really good concept to get.
Organized.
It's organized. I'm sorry,
I said I
It looks-
like how
it
you did the
looks-
schedule format with the columns.
yes. Somebody talking online?
Yes, the bolded areas stand out more, the importance of, you know, those particular things, items, where you use bold.
So we have dates. Notice also even the title. The title tells us, but the other one was memo to residents, I think. The title gives you an information about what this is all about, including the date, which is then reiterated in bold in the first line. And then the bold subheadings bring your attention to it. Schedule, to prepare. What else is different?
Style,
The style?
it's organized.
Okay, it's organized. What do you mean by organized?
like each little chunk is its own thing. So like the schedule is just by itself and then to prepare is by itself.
So it's,
Shows a timeline,
I'm sorry, what? It has a timeline.
timeline.
Which is probably the most important thing to know about this. You know, when's this going to happen? What do you have to do when?
The things you have to do are clearly marked out, as opposed to the other one.
Right. So we've talked about headings. What else is there here? A numbered list. There's a schedule that's in a list by dates, and then there's a numbered list. Workplace writing lots of times has lists, bullets, numbers, you know, so that, because those things by definition get highlighted. Because if you put them in a bullet, you can see them more than in that paragraph that, you know, goes on and on. Look at the beginning and end. So the beginning says, the garages will be cleaned. We have developed a schedule so as to minimize the inconvenience. And then at the end, we apologize for the inconvenience, but hope you will be pleased by the refreshed garage. Those are 2 lines that I added. Why?
Well, having your schedule disrupted is annoying.
It is.
Acknowledging that.
Remember our Google Doc, that 4th thing that I added? What is the relationship between the audience and the writer? What is the relationship between the owners and the renters? Or the management of XYZ and the people there?
The landlord tenant comes immediately to mind.
All right, landlord tenant. What kind of relationship is that?
Possibly business client.
Yeah, it's a business client relationship. What does a business want to do with its clients? Keep them. The most important thing for a business, keep their clients. So anytime you have a relationship between a business and a client and a document between them, the business owner, one of their purposes, you know, not overt, but one of their underlying purposes is keep the relationship. So I mentioned earlier today, I've been out of internet since Thursday night. Yesterday, finally, I ended up, well, several times I did this, but I called AT&T yet again, and I was on hold for an hour and 20 minutes, on hold or talking to people. And finally, anyway, the person that I got ultimately connected to, who got me my hotspot plan so that I could use a hotspot, she was so nice. She was, hello, my name is Rain. I am so sorry that your day has been so disappointing because you haven't got any internet. And I'm going to try to help you. And at first I was like, but she really was helpful. And she ended up finding me a plan that costs exactly the same as my current plan, but allows me to get a hotspot. And I'd already had multiple conversations with AT&T people, most of which ended up with me screaming at them and, you know, saying, I can't do my job if I don't have an internet, blah, blah, blah. I don't think, do you want me to go to Comcast or whatever? And they all tried to use that same niceness, but it didn't work with them because they weren't really being nice and helpful. And I was thinking about that. I just thought that was kind of an interesting thing. Okay, so what you've seen is a document and then another document. And then I did an analysis of some of the differences, and you guys all noticed them all. Layout. The original is all one paragraph, and I did all this stuff with layout to try to highlight certain things. Organization and style. And so we don't have time to go over all these. What I'd like you to do for homework, though, is to look over what I did. Then, additionally for homework, so on the second page of the Spot the Differences exercise, section 1 was what we've just sort of talked about. Section 2 is what we're going to do in class on Thursday. We're going to have an in-class workshop in which, again, I have an original memo. In this case, it's an actual memo one of my students shared with me, and a revision. And we're going to work in groups. We're going to look at these two documents. We're going to work in groups and discuss, the changes and discuss the reasons for the changes. Okay? So, going back to the Weebly page somewhere. By the way, I did kind of reorganize the Blackboard navigation memo. All right, so this week 2 is for all of this week. And so we're going to be completing in-class activities on Spot the Differences Tuesday and Thursday, September 1 and 3rd. So we're going to do part 2 on September 3rd, Thursday. And then there's an exercise to do it for yourself, to find a document and analyze it, to turn in for a week from today, Tuesday the 8th. And somebody noticed that my Blackboard assignment thing was originally said today, and I sincerely apologize if anybody else saw that, because I know it was scary to suddenly see an assignment due on the same day. It's like these nightmares that we have. My favorite not favorite, but my recurrent teaching nightmare is that I go into a class and I'm supposed to teach elementary physics. I'm like, I don't know anything about physics. How could I do that? Okay, so that's where we are. Questions? Oh, there's chat. Oh, good. So on chat, people were helping. Any other? All right, good. I'm so glad that, so yes, there's several comments about not working with Google Docs before. That's fine that you're not completely sure what to do. That's the purpose of this little exercise, so that you become familiar with Google Docs, and then once we start doing things that are more high stakes, that you already know how to use it.